Good evening, all. The panel discussion is on decoding the codes and standard, ensuring fire safety. Okay, and I would request all the attendees to be ready, for additional 15 to 20 minutes. Okay, of whatever time we have given for this webinar. Okay, because it's going to be very interesting and very interactive. I can tell you, the preparation meeting of this panel discussion, went on for 20-25 minutes extra. So please be excited. Okay, I would like to welcome Sandeep Goyal ji, okay, who is basically going to moderate this panel discussion. Sandeep ji doesn't require any introduction because he's well known in our industry, all built environment. Since he is a consultant, a prominent consultant in India. So Sandeep ji, over to you. You may introduce the panelists and take it over.
Thank you, Mr. Rupesh. I think on a Friday, evening, which has got 2 off days, and one of them is compulsory. Even if I want to come to office on the 2nd October, I cannot. And all I can do is now work from home. And while we are under tremendous pressure of, closing this week, there is a huge 200 plus, attendees, which definitely makes me feel the excitement with which the audience are here to listen to very good consultants on board with us. And I'm very honored to share this dais with some of the few consultants whom we never have the opportunities to talk, despite being good friends because of time factors. But then FSCI does the unusual. They always make sure, all the aspirations are met. And therefore, this is an opportunity for me to, interact very officially, casually with my colleague, Mr. Ashwin, who comes as a principal consultant from Epsilon Design Consultancy. I can see him on the screen. He has appeared. Mr. Ashwin, obviously, there is a very detailed profile of his, and he is also one of the most, another colleague who is very well known in the fraternity. And I would say for the colleagues who I will be getting on board right now in a while, have their own unique experiences of doing different types of projects. Well, I call myself a commercial building consultant. I do not do industries. I don't do pharma. We don't do those kind of projects, but I'm good with tall buildings. I'm good with commercial buildings, and I'm good with those kind of buildings. So in the similar capacity, while Mr. Ashwin's profile and portfolio will include very different types of building, but he's a person who is, you can call him, in my understanding, a data center consultant. He has a very large portfolio of experience, but yes, on data centers, he's the one of the most experienced people within the team. So thank you, Mr. Ashwin. I welcome you to be part of the team over here. Primarily, then I take the opportunity of welcoming Mr. Vinod Kapse. Vinod is another great friend who is carrying a lot of understanding on this subject, deep understanding, local and global in all aspects. He is one of the person who has huge experience on hospitality projects. Although he does a lot of industrial projects, he does a lot of commercial building projects. But I have always known him as a great leader on hospitality projects. So healthcare and hotels and residences, he's one of the finest consultant I have come across. So I welcome Mr. Vinod Kapse. You can put your video, on the screen, Mr. Kapse, so that everybody can see you in physical. That's very nice of you to be with us, Mr. Kapse.
Thank you so much, Sandeep. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Muthu Krishnan, I have not interacted with him much. I spoke to him very shortly, but I could see, the passion he holds, specifically again on industrial projects, the kind of knowledge he possesses. I think we can have a separate session from him only as a speaker to talk about, the aspects of buildings. And right now also he has visited one of the storage buildings, which he will share his experiences. Mr. Muthu Krishnan comes to us from HKM, which is probably the company which he comes is HKM Engineers and Consultants, another consulting organization company, a man with a deep knowledge about the subject. Mr. Manish Jain who is a good friend of mine, whom I have known as a very passionate person, a person who is knowledgeable, yet very, very polite with his approach. But he will not leave you so easily. He will always catch hold of you here and there. And with his politeness, he will make everything work well. He's another great guy who comes, and I have deep respect from him. The kind of time duration now he has been with Lubrizol, I'm sure he's known as now Manish Jan Lubrizol would be his complete name because of the honesty with which he has been with his organization. I have known him for last 18 years, and I think now I can see his biodata. He has been in Lubrizol for last 17 years. So that's how it is. And we all, under the guidance of Mr. Warick, with a very polite smile and without showing, any kind of superiority, despite being the authority in position, always like a father figure, helping all of us with a polite smile. और बोलते चलो इसको देखते हैं, इसको थोड़ा ठीक कर लेते हैं, थोड़ा और better कर लेते हैं. So that kind of an attitude with the authority, I think we are in a very lucky scenario. India is in good hands with some good colleagues like Mr. Warick, who's so senior, but the kind of comfort he gives you is if you are in your own home, you are talking to your elder brother, you are talking to your father figure. The kind of attitude is so positive. And I always thank Warick Saab for his generosity in guiding us, in helping hands. We are nowhere, to know, for Mr. Warick to know us, I think is one of the best, I would say advantage Amitabh Bachchan knows some, but many know Amitabh Bachchan. So that is how Warick Saab comes to us. Knowing him, having his mobile number with us, I think is a great honor for us, as a matter of fact, for our consulting fraternity, I would say so. So from that aspect, now since all my colleagues are there and I've spoken a lot, I would say that we should start with all my three colleagues along with Manish. And Mr. Warick can definitely be guiding us always. He can open the door and come inside and tell us, okay, boys, you are doing a mistake here. So from there, I would start first with Mr. Ashwin to know from him. We are talking the discussion in two parts. So we have a very exciting code, 15105-2021. We have all, kind of got through it. It was like a child who gets a chocolate. He wants to open up the wrapper and want to see what is inside the wrapper. I think all the consultants were equally excited as the 15-20-21 came in, and everybody opened up the box and find out what it is. So Mr. Ashwin, sir, you please tell us what you think about the new avatar of 15105-2021, because that is the code right now, which is keeping us on the toes to celebrate the changes and to also express certain things which we could have improved or we can improve. So Mr. Ashwin, I would like to hear from you.
Yeah, I think the 15105, the code in question for today's discussions, it's been a revamp of the earlier code, and there are quite a few significant changes that are there in the code, and it is going to impact whether it is you, for example, you said that your focus area is commercial buildings, high-rise buildings, or Mr. Muthu, who's into industrial, or Vinod, who's more into hospitality or general buildings. Or for me, I'm into different category, or in terms of data center, etc. For all of us, this is a document that we need to seriously refer, because there are nuances of changes in every single aspect. The code also goes and adds certain specific annexures. If you look at the code, there are annexures running from annexure B right to F, which are individualistic, treatise on specific areas of importance. So it's a code that we need to really intake from a technical standpoint and ensure that our designs are now in line with this revisions that have come through. So all in all, while like you said, there are some points which are still debatable. We would love to have certain additions further. For a person like me, maybe I was looking for more answers than what I got in this revision. But definitely is a code which is a step forward, and we should abide by it. Over to you, Santosh.
Thanks, Ashwinji. I think you have been very polite with your approach. I think we need to abide by it. There are certain goods and bads. I have got my own ideas about it, which I would like to share. Next, I would ask Mr. Kapse to share, is because we are in that order. So we should ask Mr. Kapse, your opinion. You are a very avid reader of NFPA 13, 14, 20, 101, 2001. We remember these codes as if they are like, we remember these codes as in how we talk. Sandeep, what is in 20, what is in 10, what is in 14, what is in 101? And it is such a great pleasure to talk to colleagues who can understand the language of code, and I wish one day more and more people like you come across whom, we can meet at the airport and discuss on a coffee about the changes in the code. So Mr. Kapse, the changes in the code, sir, tell me.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Sandeep. And I'm very glad to go through the new code, that is Sprinkler 15105. That's because there is a lot of inclusions in terms of in terms of various aspects of the code. One, I can say they have added all type of systems. They have added application of specific sprinklers like EC, ELO, ESFR has been a major addition where earlier for a specific commodity and a specific height, beyond that height, we had to go with in-rack, and people were concerned about in-racks. There is a big addition of ESFR, which helps the warehouse industry as well as pharma industries, where I do a lot of pharma and warehouses. It helps because there is a clear definition of ESFR, where to use, at what pressures and what K factor. That's one wonderful thing that I can see. The second is in sprinklers, they have also said that they have clearly defined a storage application sprinkler, which says that a storage application sprinkler beyond K160 is permissible. That's a great inclusion, because my experience says whenever I do some warehouses where it's done by local landlords, they use K80, K115, pipe sizes are low, they don't understand the height. So they were using a normal K. The sprinkler for them was just K80, nothing beyond that. So the inclusion of K160 for storage application has been a great input. That's what I would say. Type of storages has been categorically defined, like rack, palletized, solid piled, solid shelf, wood, open rack. Slopes have been defined. 9% slope, ESFR cannot be used. That's a wonderful inclusion, because the performance of the sprinkler deteriorates beyond 10% as we mentioned in FPA. Chute sprinklers has been added for hotels, which was not a part of this earlier. Submission of drawings. Yeah, we have seen people submitting drawings which doesn't contain the maximum area of operation, the density, the type, the table. That has been added. That's wonderful as far as it's concerned. Categories of commodity has been defined, and storage. High hazard and storage has been separately defined. That's also wonderful, because when you say storage, it's the magnitude of fire and the heat release rate that's more of concern. So storage has been categorically defined. That's something wonderful. In terms of and storage sprinkler beyond a certain height, that table has been maintained the same, where it says Category 1 is only up to 4 meters, and category 4 is 1.2 meters. Beyond that, you need to have a storage application. That's little harsh, that I feel, because if you look at the ESFR application, they have started from 6.1 meter of storage height, whereas the category they have stopped at 4 meters. So that should be a little harsh. I feel that 4 meters should have gone up to 6 meters, so that from 6.1 we come back to the annexure pages of storage. So that's a bit harsh. Light hazard is again restricted to 84 square meters with a 2.25 LPM. Even that is a little harsh. Light hazard would have been increased. That limits the use of CPVC pipe as well, because CPVC pipe use of CPVC pipe has been limited to light hazard and with a quick response sprinkler. So light hazard would have been the area. If it would have been increased, that would have been great, because we don't find any building that I do which is less than an area less than 126 square meters, and you need to have an RCC or a wall and a fire door there. I don't think that's really harsh. As far as alarm wall is concerned, they have given area. Earlier it was number of sprinklers. Here they have given area. That's one good part that they have done, because vertically you can have as much as levels you have. You don't need to have alarm walls based on the number of sprinklers. It's same. It's a vertical pipe, and you can have a flow switch connected to an alarm wall. That's more than enough. So that inclusion is good, of 4870 and 3780 sprinklers for alarm wall for low and high height hazard. Flexible drops has been added. And one important addition of flexible drops, what I love is they have said that the flexible drop friction loss calculation should be added in the hydraulic calculation. That is a master blow, because normally a flexible drop of 1.2 meters, if you equate to a 25 mm pipe, it's almost about a 17 to 20 meters of a normal pipe. That's a pressure drop equivalent to a flexible drop. They have said the hydraulic should add the length of the equivalent length of pipe. That's a master blow that I feel. CPVS pipe has been added. That's good. That's a good start. However, they have limited with riders that they need to have 126 square meters. And you need to limit it with a quick response sprinkler only. As far as pump room is concerned, there is a great addition. They have added PRVs. They have added CRVs. That's something great. And basement one, they have allowed ground floor or the maximum basement one. That's a good thing, because we have seen pump rooms going below basement ones and then water clogging and flooding areas. Water tank enclosures, of course, fuel tank capacities, they have mentioned that seems to me a bit less, because for LH it's just 1 hour fuel capacity and OH it is 2 hour. I think normally it's about 4 to 6 hours of firefighting, 8 hours as per an FPA, but that seems to be less. That's only for high hazard. And water tank capacities are clearly defined. Aggregate pumping capacity into 30 minutes, 60 minutes, and 120 minutes. That's one good thing. Testing commissioning has been added. Acceptance tests have been added. That's one wonderful aspect of it. And of course, annexures, as Ashwin said, there are annexures for C, which is the ASFR, for E, which is cold storage, D is for pre-action, F is for zoning of sprinklers. So I think overall there is a huge improvement. And of course, there always will be a scope for improvement. NFPA always has an addition every 3 years. So it means there is always scope for improvement, and every 3 years you need some inclusions. But all in all, it's a master blow. Thank you so much.
That was a good gist of whatever has got changed. I think Vinod, that's right. But I do agree that I personally feel there is a very remarkable improvement with respect to the requirements of the industrial buildings and the storage buildings. But I feel a little bit disheartened, the way we could have gone ahead with the light hazard and certain types of occupancies to be clearly allowed with, I would say, a good technological pipe like a CPVC pipe. I would like to say from my experience, like NFPA 13R, 13D, there are clear allowances on it. So I think rather than having that kind of a, line where, it's very diminishing, you are not able to clearly work out. Colleagues like Mr. Warick sir, who will get the drawings, you will not be able to really keep up the commitment of 30 meters of 30 minutes of, the fire compartmentation in the proposal drawing and the executed drawing. And that's where I think we should minimize such kind of anomalies which can arise later due to changes at the site. So those are the certain things. And I now come to Mr. Mithya Krishnan to learn his experiences, the coding and the decoding of the code. How the 15105, how does that help him or kind of challenge his working in his, in his business activities, in consulting proposals which he provides? So you need to unmute. You will need
a warm welcome to all of you, sir. And really, the IS 15105 has been the most important document which we all have to refer, because earlier in India, at least it was that the hydrant system, man has not been so much useful in India. So maximum people have been using the hydrant system. But now the requirement for man's life has become precious, and people have started looking for the sprinkler system. And so now it becomes fantastic that what we are looking at IS 15105 is making a lot of difference to all of us in our perspective of how we are going to handle the system. Okay, first, as he was also telling, we have got the 3 important aspects I would like to tell you is it is able to help. One is on the engineering of the system, basically as a subject matter. Then it is able to help us on the industrial and residential and housing, how we are going to do it. And when we see it as a chemical factory and all, we are able to understand how we will be able to install the sprinkler systems. Because as he was rightly telling, earlier we did have a limitation in the height of the warehouses and all, but the warehouses are going higher and higher. I would like to tell you that I had a privilege of installing in Tamil Nadu a warehouse which was 32 meters tall and which was much higher more than the NFPA standards, and then it was approved by the Finland board. So we had to have the indirect sprinkler systems. Then we had to have a separate roof sprinkler system. Then we had to have the air sampling detection system. We had to have the CCTV system which could find this smoke signature, and this was totally accepted by the Finland board. So there is a increase in height and everything, and we are definitely able to see the movement in the IS 15105 is helping us. And in the commercial and the industrial commercial front also it is increasing, because as we can see the transition from the tariff advisory committee to the current standards. The tariff advisory committee and all was totally looking at the industrial perspective of the hazards. But now industries have almost come into the hazards because they are able to use fire safe transformer oil, segregation, separation, isolation, substitution of hazards. They are all becoming much better there. Passive fire protection is being used much better there. So almost the hazards are getting controlled there. Okay. And there is also an important term, everybody right from the security officer says continuity of business, continuity of business. But we are now requiring now to more focuses on the residential aspect of the whole safety. Because earlier we were all sitting in our grandmother's time only in the ground floor. But now we are sitting in 18, 20, 25 floors, 50 floors, 100 floors building. Point number one. Point number two is IIT Kanpur had made a important research wherein they said in the last 15 to 14 years, the risk of every building has gone up more than 3.5 times. Okay. Earlier, we never had so many cushion, chair, polyurethane foam, air condition and all. 99% of the industrial building offices and all had only a fan. Okay. But now every single house has got a AC, and we are all going with the canopy and the facades and everything else. So there is a progressive movement from even the residential industrial front to the residential front. And this is where the utilization of sprinkler systems are becoming very important. Okay. And there is a beautiful level of improvement also they are able to make. One is from an individual standard, that is a company standard. Second is association or trademark standards, to a national standards, to an integration with the international standard like NFPA 13. And the most beautiful aspect of this is also the detailing of the nomenclature of the projects. Okay, the definition of terms, the specification, the limitation of sizes and grades of the sprinkler systems that we need to use, the sampling and inspection that we need to use, the testing and analysis, the limitation of variety of the systems, and then the grading of the building, the code of practice, and of course, one small aspect that could be also covered is the packaging, conservation, and transporting of the systems that could be added up. But that is a good thing. And I really appreciate that our co-consultants are really teaching us all about the hydraulics of the system. They are absolutely right also, because earlier, some of the unscrupulous people used to put a 1-inch flexible drop, half-an-inch flexible drop and all, while another person will be asking for at least a 1-inch flexible drop, because there is a friction drop was much lesser. He is absolutely right. 8 meters to 16 meters more is the increase in the frictional drop per meter length of a flexible drop. So that way we need to look at it. One great thing I will tell you, sir, is many of the people have started appreciating it also. Earlier, I used to go for a standards meeting. They used to say, I know everything, I know everything. Then I would ask them, boss, what is Indian standard number 1? If there was jaggery on the table, he'll tell it is for jaggery. If sugar is on the table, it is for sugar. Okay. Or somebody will tell extinguisher. Now they are telling me, now when I tell them, sorry, boss, you are wrong. It is for Indian national flag. Okay. That way I had to bring down and shut down their ego that they have not really gone through the standards. Okay. But right now, with the standards also coming into free use and being able to free download, the number of people using the standards have also increased. And before I close this point, or 2 more important points I will tell you is that after people are shown the YouTube video of the very sad fire that happened in Bangalore where a lady expired. In one of the building, I told him, boss, tumne itna kar rahe ho, can you do something more? He said, what do you want me to do? I said, for exposure protection, Why don't you put a monitor in the roof? तुम्हारे पास तो तुम बोल रहे नीचे कुछ भी काम करेगा. Exposure protection with a universal nozzle. Are you willing to put it? I cannot put you pressurize you at all, please. But are you willing to do it? He said, sir, मैं जरूर करेगा because पूरा सभी का सभी बिल्डिंग मेरा ही है. ओके, मैंने सीधा रोड में किसी को भी ब्लॉक कर सकता हूँ. उधर मत जाओ. मैं टेरेस में मॉनिटर लगाएगा तो मेरा हर एक मॉनिटर टेरेस का लेंथ 30 मीटर 40 मीटर है. मैं कभी भी मॉनिटर को टेस्टिंग कर सकता हूँ करके he immediately accepted to that. Okay, so that is where we need to tell them कि बॉस ये स्टैंडर्ड्स में ऐसा है, आपने भी टेरेस में मॉनिटर डाल दो बिकॉज आपके पास कभी भी आपने चेकिंग कर सकता है. देन आपने एक्सपोजर प्रोटेक्शन का आपने बिंदास दे सकता है. फायरमैन आ गया, फायरमैन ने रोड को ब्लॉक कर दिया, आपने बाजू वाला बिल्डिंग से उसको कर दिया तो that person can be allowed to escape. Okay, once it is very clear that the power to that building has been shut off and you have got a universal branch pipe, you can do that. So, and the very much more beautiful aspect is earlier our Ayurvedic hospitals and all were never doing so much about safety. But when I went to Chandigarh this time, it was the Ayurvedic hospitals who were telling, yes, sir, majority of the clients who are coming to us are from Europe. So how can we improve? Because we have got dust hazards and everything. So how can we improve? That is the way the beautiful transition of India is happening. So we all need to understand the standards. We all need to love the standards more than our family, I think. And then we will all prosper very much. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Krishnan. I think this is the real spirit of decoding the code. So the real spirit of decoding lies in solutions which are innovative, which are accepted. I carry this message of yours very, very close to my working ahead. You have not only kind of given an education to people on the who are there as a panelist, but I think there are more than 200 people. Out of those 200 people, even if 50 of them will think and 20 of them will provide, I think you have done a lot of remarkable contribution in igniting all of us to think about putting a monitor on the roof, which will be completely easy to operate without having any concerns of the monitor not being or the system not functional on the ground. So I think there will be many ideas which we can collate, we can bring it out, and we can actually decode the code by certain practical experiences and move ahead, to educate the people, the society, as well as the code makers. So from there, I think, Mr. Manish, you have been, very, very, it's not that it's just business for you, but also you have been very passionately talking about CPVC piping, which comes from your manufacturing company. And I know you personally have not been that much about, the whole idea is not business, the idea is about safety. So what do you think has been the journey of yours, the kind of, appreciation and support the authorities also have given you? Can you share some ideas on that? And your understanding about 15105, unfortunately, has put in certain level of limitations, which I feel should have been with a larger spectrum of allowance to the piping, product.
Sure. Thank you, Sandeep ji. Wonderful question. Our journey has been very nice. However, there have always been difficulties because, changing a code and its provision in a country like India is really very tough because there are a lot of processes which one has to go through. I remember when we started some 15 years ago for the BlazeMaster to be included in IS 15105, we had to go through various barriers. But I think so a lot of stalwarts here were always supportive because of the history of the product, that it had been used internationally and it has been accepted by NFPA 13, 13R and 13D, plus it also has a lot of history behind itself. So coming to the current IS 15105, one positive thing what I see is that, the acceptance of CPVC is now in the code itself. Earlier, the biggest challenge was, although there was an annexure of, in the terms of 16088, people still said 15105 mein only GI hai, metal piping is there. So now this is broken one ice. We would have loved the area to go away, like NFPA doesn't have any restrictions for light hazard. We would have loved to have that, but we would not complain because 126 square meters also, I believe personally, we can cover the entire residential area. We can cover the hospitals, hospital rooms. We can cover hotel rooms, and so on and so forth. However, here I see a very good advantage in terms of CPVC because the smallest size of pipe which is recommended is 20 mm. Now, comparing it with metal, you know, 25 mm is the minimum pipe size which has to be used. And when you talk about the hydraulics, there is a lot of pressure available in the system which goes waste. Now, by using a CPVC hydraulically designed system, you are able to utilize the pressure and optimize your system. So technically, when we talk about a high-rise building or any building for that matter, the NBC says that you need to have 3.5 kg pressure at the remotest area. The pumping pressure should be 3.5 at the terrace level. So now if I have 3.5 pressure at the flow switch on the topmost floor, I can, you know, design my system in such a way, my piping, that most of my piping would happen in 20 to 25 mm, whereas in MSU or GI you end up using 40 mm or 50 mm, also in large apartments. Besides this, you know, when we talk about sustainability, we all know that there is a lot of talk on climate change and sustainable materials should be adopted. And here I believe CPVC has proven life cycle analysis and comparison where CPVC is a much more sustainable product compared to the metal pipe. So these are my inputs to the panel, and thank you for the question.
I think that's a very good approach, the optimistic approach which you carry, Mr. Manish. Hello. Yeah, it's a very optimistic approach, Mr. Manish. I think you see the light of the day and you see that there is a certain level of, allowance. I do completely agree with you to have more modern plumbing, modern systems will help the overall installation quality, the weight, the lightweightness of the pipe also helps. So I personally feel it's the move in the right direction. Warick sir, although you are not part of the panel discussion, but we would like to seek some of your guidance, input, sir, on the various things which are happening. You are the authority holding the fort for every one of us, making us safe. So I'll go back to my colleagues, Warick sir, but it will be unfair for us to have you and not listen to you.
Warehousing, see that there is a central government policy for warehousing to encourage warehouses in India, and also there are different states that are encouraging warehousing because we need warehouses for different reasons. Agricultural product, cold storages, and again different kind of activities. So there are various warehouses coming across the India, and they are looking for the bigger box size. There is a request of 300 meters by 300 or 300 meter by 500 meter warehouses, wherein the travel distance is issue, compartmentation is issue for us from the approval point of view. As the IS standard is not updated like sprinklers, we are waiting for last, means after 2017 when new NBC came, in 2021 we are getting a new sprinkler standard. Similarly, there is a need for the electronic data for the data centers that is not been updated. Again, there are individual industry standards are there which are not updated by Bureau of Indian Standards. Unfortunately, we are lagging behind of the time because technologies are changing day by day, and unfortunately we are not coping up with the standards requirements. So that is a real challenge area, and wherein all stakeholders has to contribute. They have to see that as per the international standards, because technology majority they are coming up from the developed world to India, and we want to have that. So there is a logistic arrangement wherein computerized storages are happening, and they are looking for the building height up to 45 meters for the storages, wherein no human habitation will be there, and electronically retrieval systems are there that maybe for the goods or for spare parts, or the, puzzle parkings are also coming up in the basement or above ground. They are also looking for the higher heights. So we don't have any standard specified and how to protect that risk. So that is a real challenge, and depending upon what best practices happening across the globe, they recommend certain requirements or some standards to follow. So DG sets on upper floors, so that is also challenge for data centers, wherein we recommend only DG sets to be housed at ground level or below, means in the first basement, not on the upper floors. But there is a huge demand for data centers because they need a 99.99% power backup, and they need huge power backups. So we have to have some solution for them. So see, the code should be, means we have to ensure the minimum life safety for each and every type of activity. So depending upon the potential risk and the life threat, we have to provide some minimum protection to that particular activity. But that activity has to be honor first, because that activity is important. It is coming up as an investment from the foreign direct investment, or maybe the requirement of the time. And accordingly, we have to lay a layer of life safety, fire prevention, and fire protection as specified in the code. So that should be thought first. And then only we will be in a position to have the win-win situation where means we can collaboratively ensure that the minimum safety is provided and it is a safe envelope for day-to-day working of the building. So that is required. And second most important thing what we face as a fire officers or the regulators is the proper integration and implementation of the system. That is a real challenge. The integration means workmanship is a real challenge nowadays. Nobody has a dedicated 4 or 5 teams for installations of sprinklers. So normally the plumbers team, and they have hired from outside, and job is offloaded to them for the two certain floors to one team, certain floors to another team, and the workmanship of that particular thing as per the design drawings. So we approve the drawing. On the drawing, everything is rosy picture, but actual execution at site is a real challenge. So I feel we have to do lot of awareness amongst the integrators, though they are means semi-skilled kind of a worker. Unfortunately, the qualified engineers are not day to day visiting the site and ensuring that they are doing a right job. And at the final stage, when we go for inspection, that time we see the systems are not installed as per the standards. And that time we start rejecting, and it is a high time for them, because the provisional means final fire approval is the first document for obtaining the occupancy of the building. So in that case, friction starts, and all blame means then blame game start between the regulator and the designer. So that execution of each system design is a part. Okay, you can give the backup with the hydraulics and everything, but at the ground level, how the execution is done, it is a real challenge. And that is a gray area wherein we need to have the awareness. We should means reach up to that level to make aware that how the best the execution of the system can be done. Thank you.
No, I think you're right, Warik Saab. I think while code would try to give you a lot of things, I would still say, the level of understanding which people would possess even on fire drills is highly lacking. And NBC this time has come out with, a new chapter on the facility management, which I would encourage we should look at it, because a lot of fires, are being done with electrical safety issues, and we are very ignorant about it. So Ashwin ji, since I come back an opportunity to you, Mr. Ashwin, what is it that you feel we are doing very well with respect to the Indian codes, and where you feel we need to still go back to our, code writers on the various aspects of the design? So, any experiences you would like to share when you have worked on very, very specific projects like data centers, which are very global with their requirements, and how our codes are yet to meet up with those, some of the gaps? What are your suggestions and inputs, Ashwinji?
Yeah, I think Warik sir was bang on in his intermediate, dialogue which he just had with us. Now, coming to specific experience, you see, data center is a microcosm of multiple kinds of hazards. As Warick sir said, that there is a need for a gantry immediately adjacent to the building where we have maybe the DGs getting installed, so that we have the shortest possible length of cable, HT cable from the DG into the the panel area. Similarly, there are challenges with respect to how you look at lithium ion, because the batteries are a serious cause of fire in most of the data centers. I'm not too sure if you're aware that there is a recent case of an under construction building which there was some testing happening on the UPS or the batteries, and there was a case wherein there has been a fire registered. So batteries are a serious concern. With lithium ion, as Warick sir was said in his opening comment, as well as a few minutes ago, with lithium ion, you are driving the advantage of having very compact storage of chemical energy, which can be used very efficiently by such data centers. But then you're also looking at a different devil altogether when it comes to fire protection. So how do you address the concern of lithium-ion batteries? So just to give you an idea, since you asked the question, how our codes, or for that matter, let's look at our IS 15105 itself. See, lithium-ion batteries can be applied for backing up power in data centers in two ways. One is you could have a separate battery room where you could store batteries, and it can be a proper fire compartment, whereas your racks could be in the data centers. But of late, we have seen more installations or more requirements wherein the racks come built in with lithium-ion batteries. So it's a complete array which has got servers on the top and lithium-ion batteries down below. Again, in that, the confusion created is because of the fact that while NFPA 13, which which is a standard that we need to refer apart from the old IS 1505, which was meant for the local codal compliance. NFPA 13, as Warick sir also said, has got several aspects of design which perhaps were not covered even in the earlier IS 15105. So NFPA 13 talks of an approach which is basically looking at doing an estimation of the kind of hazard class that we're looking at. So if for example, case A, wherein I were to design for a battery in a separate room, I would then go in considering that as an EH1 classification, design at maybe 12.2 millimeters per minute, density area curve, pick up an AMA of 230 square meters. Whereas if now I have a UL 9540A compliant battery, then the class changes. So these nuances are not addressed as yet by our codes. I do not know. I was the first thing that I did when I got the copy of IS 15105 is to look for some treatise on how this exciting area in which India is going to progress a lot. That is in terms of the digital storage, the data storage. It's a big business that is going to happen in India, especially with the government of India saying very clearly to everyone that Indians' data will stay in India, will not be kept out of India. We have to store our data in our country, which means that there is going to be a huge requirement of data storage space. Not only that, the growing need of such digital platforms as we're using right now for business and for other applications, etc., would mean that we need to have more and more data centers. And believe me, the next 5 to 10 years is going to be the decade of data center in India. And our codes, especially the 15105, which has now been released, still does not have a different treatise. All it does is that reflects back to 12456. Now, the 12456 is itself a standard written in 2008, reaffirmed in 2020, but does not have any major significant, significant changes to address the challenges that we are facing in the data center industry. So from that perspective, I just give an example. Battery is one of the examples. There are other examples of how you treat DG sets kept in a gantry building on the stack or even on the terrace in some cases. Transformers, going on to every individual floor, because what happens is that in a co-location kind of a data center, every customer says that my data and my rack should be served independently. I don't want to be dependent on a central transformer or a central distribution system. So all these challenges, when you look at a hyperscaler kind of an data center or a co-location data center, you need to be ready to address this in a very, very organized manner. Unfortunately, our IS 15105, which is the subject of today, misses out the bus, in addressing such challenges.
Yeah, I agree with you, Ashwinji. I think today, if you really ask me, I was kind of looking at the data center fire which happened in one of the data centers in Germany, and the way the CEO was apologetic on the media, for whatever has happened. So I was speaking to some of the other colleagues, and I said, when there is a fire in a building, man is at loss, but if there is a fire in a data center, mankind is at loss. You really have many lives of people. Everything comes to a standstill. Everybody is right now. Today, my office has been on toll because 1st of October, the transfers on the credit cards have got stopped, and you need an OTP. So, the whole thing has come into such a big problem today that I do not know whether all my accounts, which I'm running right now, how many of them will have, payment failures. And I don't want to make the payment failure, but it will happen. And tomorrow morning, my email stops working because my Google server is not got paid from the auto debit. So coming to that, Mr. Kapse, I have one question from the panel, which I will request you to answer if you can see. Have you seen the question? There is a type of construction in NBC, type 1, type 2, type 3, type 4. Yeah. What are the types of buildings that fall in each categories? So if you can also give an answer to this question, we can also learn something more from you.
Absolutely. Fundamentally, first you should go to the fire zoning. The occupancy of a building is defined in fire zone. There are fire zone 1, fire zone 2, fire zone 3 and 4. So first you need to derive on the fire zone of the building based on the occupancy. So for example, a storage building falls under fire zone 3. And fire zone 3, only 2 types of constructions are approved. That is type 1 and type 2. Now you go to table 1 of NBC and pick up the type 1 construction. So it says, the staircases can be 2 hours. The retaining walls can be 1 hour. If the ceiling is more than 6.5, it doesn't need a rating. So you pick up first the fire zone, the occupancy is, and then come to the specific construction type, and then follow the critical building construction elements based on the table 1 of NBC.
But I think you need to relate also to the FAR part of it, the table 2.
Absolutely, absolutely. But the construction type will follow by the zoning of the building first, and then you decide what type of construction. The structural elements of the building will follow what rating of structural integrity and fire integrity. That's what is the key.
What relationship would it have to FAR?
Relationship it will have to
FAR.
So table 1 has no relationship to FAR.
Okay.
And Ashwin, I would like to add some point to the point that Ashwin had discussed regarding battery fires. I too happen to do some data centers, and that was one good point that Ashwin had talked is lithium-ion batteries. For battery room, my perception of design is that you should avoid a fire in battery room. You cannot protect the battery room fire once there's a fire in battery room because it can explode. So the basic contention of a battery room is that size and separation, the maximum energy stored, spacing between the groups, smoke and gas detection, exhaust and ventilation, suppression. Of course, suppression is standard. You go with 2.2 or 12.2 or 18.2. It's standard. There's nothing that NFPA designs. And then technology-specific protection like a thermal runaway or off-gas detection. That's the key that lithium-ion batteries adds to. And you should I normally pick up NFPA 855. That's the energy storage document for designing a battery room for if it is a lithium storage. It says that one installation cannot have more than 600 kilowatt hour, and one group cannot be more than 250 kilowatt hour. And between 2 groups, you need to have a minimum distance of 3 meters. And of course, listing of UL 9540 is of paramount importance. It's better, and you need a fire-rated construction. I think that's what is the key for a battery room.
Yeah, the reason why I put that point out, is because I've seen certain lithium-ion battery manufacturers come back and say that their batteries are meeting or clear the 9540A test.
Correct.
And that there is no need for any suppression whatsoever, which is in my understanding absolutely wrong.
That's ridiculous because Other than battery, there is also a possibility of the cables coming in, other fire in the room, other than the battery that is placed there. So 9540 only gives you a listing that the battery is safer, irrespective. NFPA 855, the storage size of 250 kilowatts and 3 meter spacing and 600 kilowatt hour in one space, that needs to be followed with the 2-hour fire rated compartment wall.
True, but then, Vinod, now like I said, that there is a separate idea of having batteries in every single rack. With that, you are spreading out across your risk to the entire data flow. So that needs to be addressed separately. I also, wanted to bring out, there's someone who's asked a question. Unfortunately, I clicked a wrong button about the 12456 getting a separate treatment or a new treatment. There was one delegate who's asked the question. So yes, I know that 12456 is bound to get like 15105 is getting revised or has got revised. 12456 also needs a serious revision. It needs a serious thought. There has to be an answer given to various challenges that we are facing on the data center industry front. So there is, I'm sorry, I missed the name of the delegate who asked the question, but to him, yes, there is a serious need to revise, and you can always write directly to the CED to get in your points incorporated in that specific standard. Thank you so much.
So I think there are certain things which we need furthermore meeting grounds. I think battery data storage is something which will not be able to really sit back and say, it's time to, take a break. I think the challenges are quite large ahead. Mr. Muthukrishnan, from the industrial perspective, what do you think we need to still meet up with your understanding? You gave a very good practical examples with some emotional talk. Abhi tum karna padega to kar denge. So I think you need to tell us something from your experience, guide us, tell us something which are not in codes, but you have seen successful, implementations, and you would wish that the code becomes more adaptive to use some of your ideas. What are your ideas, your thoughts, Mr. Muthukrishnan?
Yes, sir. One is wherever I go, the first important point is with respect to the costing for the firefighting system. Okay. Everywhere, they want to check the pockets, not for giving something else, but for the safety. I tell them whether it is a nuclear plant or any building, the safety never exceeds more than 3% of the total project cost. So that is point number one. And then I ask them to list ke tumhara iske kachra dabba ke liye tumne kitna spend kiya, iske liye tumne kitna spend kiya na. Slowly they come back to the line. Point number one. Point number two is I make the purchase department person to come and be present in the meeting. Normally क्या होता है कि other people are discussing, the purchase department person only speaks about money. Then I tell them that nowadays the majority of the fires are happening because there is a reduction in the size of every single thing. Earlier UPS used to be so big, 1 kV UPS used to be so big, now it is quarter of the size. And earlier it used to be a metal box, CRCA sheet steel IS 2062 grade, 2 mm thickness. But now it is made of not even virgin plastic, duplicate plastic, with all the transformer, with everything, one over the other. And uske upar cinema actors ko kuch photo lagate hai, tum kharidte ho. Okay. But are you really looking at what is the safety within this plant when you are asking? So tumne pahla kya karega? Tumne kuch bhi commercial mein baat karega. First of all, let it go to a technical appraisal first. Majority of the projects have got a bad attitude. Techno commercial ko tum submit karo, wo mat karo. Technical people let them fight with each other, come out with the technical aspect. Then let it come to a commercial discussion. And when it comes to a commercial discussion, तुमने पूरा का पूरा करने के बाद लास्ट में उसको पूछे कि सेफ्टी कार में तुम इसके में क्या कर रहे हो? Because there was 2 incidences in Chandigarh, sir, where there was the transformer fellow who was doing that very good, excellent big transformer at quoted for AMC. A local fellow has quoted at half the rate, and there was no fire in the transformer for the first 6 months. And then the purchase department has told, look, I had done a very good job. And he was blackening the face of the actual transformer guy. But the point is that the local transformer fellow had left a 2 mm hole on the top of the bushing. When the water has started pouring in from the rain, sir, immediately the level of water inside the thing has gone up. And then immediately the fire has stopped. Like Diwali, every single roadside transformer has started burning. By the time the vendor has got his money and everybody has got his money. So I tell the purchase department fellow, You have to ask for safety as a last point before you are finalizing everything. Whether they are giving ordinary PVC cable or XLPE cable or PVC FR, PVC FRLS, PVC FRLS HF or fire survival cable. तुमने उसका गला पकड़ने का on the safety before you are finalizing everything, and you will be able to get it on the same price. So you are the most important person to do it. And next important thing I also tell them is, boss, मैंने इधर आके आपको training दे रहा हूँ, or you taking this training of extinguisher to your family. Okay, you should have the responsibility and the gumption to say, boss, I am taking this to your family also. And when I go for the training, most of the times you are going by taxi, I call my taxi fellow inside, and 99% of my clients says, let him come and be participating in the training. And I will challenge you, sir, my taxi person can speak more about tunnels than most of the engineers. Because I take him inside, he goes through the tunnels 100 numbers of times. He can identify the number of tunnels as per the NFPA standards, and he can stand and discuss. Okay, this is there. And secondly, I call the HR people also, because it can be a little off the shelf, but I call the HR people because one of the projects I gave the training on the extinguisher. When I asked the people, I was very happy with my training. Everybody shaking their heads. When I asked them, "Ki boss, abhi tumne extinguisher use karega?" Two workers looked at each other and started laughing. When I asked them, "Why are you laughing?" He said, "Ki हमारे HR ने 15,000 रुपया हमारे salary से काट लिया, किसी ने extinguisher use किया तो." Then I went to the HR department, asked him, "Boss, what is the cost of refilling extinguisher?" He asked me, "Who are you?" Because he did not know I have come as auditor. I said, "I'm an auditor for fire safety. I want to know what is the cost of refilling extinguisher." He said it is 15,000 rupees. I said, "Boss, cost of a new extinguisher is coming to 7,000, 8,000 rupees. And if you are going to cut from the salary 15,000 rupees for refilling extinguisher, you are doing more damage to the company than any good. You are supposed to give a certificate." So I go the other way around by calling the purchase department, the HR department, the security department, and all for the safety meeting rather than just the top management. And then I ask the top management also, "Sir, you tell me you have got your fire safe suit. How many times did you wear it to come to the site? Do you know where it is?" Because one time if the MD of the company wears the suit and comes to the site, it goes all down the line that everybody should know what it is. Okay, and the last but not the least is we give the least response to the size of the security cabin. That fellow needs to stand and do, but उधर आपने देखेगा तो अभी CCTV का कैमरा आ गया, surveillance का system आ गया, fire alarm का panel आ गया, everything is there down there, and is actually sitting on the UPS also to operate the system. Okay, so these are the non-conventional methods which I try to go ahead and make everybody inconvenient. At the end of the day, they laugh at it, and somehow I am sure that I am giving some method across. Thank you, sir.
I should say thank you to FSCI to find out one more passionate colleague, out of many passionate colleagues. I've never heard somebody to speak with that kind of a passion, with that kind of a clarity, and that kind of, I would say, the capturing thoughts, Mr. Muthukrishnan. I compliment you from my heart for, bringing out so much of clarity. I would take the trouble to call you up and discuss with you further ahead. And from there, I think, Mr. Manish, I will now like you to give some of the comments. After that, I will try to see if any of the colleagues would like to put across their points. Mr. Manish, would you like to, have a message going to the people saying that they should not just, restrict themselves by the code, which is today, but they should also be committed in understanding technology, using the technology, and giving an opportunity. And I think after that, there is so much which, we can go and work together in bringing better safety to the people. Anything you'd like to say, Mr. Manish?
True. Very true. Yeah, I think so. Thank you, Sandeep. A wonderful question. I would seek the support of all the people on the call, the eminent panel, and the other people present to support the cause of, having more clarity in these standards. For example, NFPA allows and permits connection of the drinking water lines with the fire systems. So we are talking only about a pressure of 0.7 bar at a sprinkler. If you talk about light hazard, we're talking about AMA of 84 square meters, which means 4 sprinklers should be working at one given time. So keeping this all in point, I think so, fire sprinklers are the first respondent in case of a fire. CPVC can easily be used in existing buildings without disturbing the existing people. And hence, I think so this is a technology which will help at least the high-rise buildings in adopting it, the hospitals which are there, which are not fire sprinkled, and a few hotel projects also where there is urgent need for fire protection. So I think so as a community with so many eminent people and decision makers, your support would be helpful in getting the codes corrected and getting the right perspective to move forward.
I think we had some very good ideas. I have been taking notes, of whatever my colleagues have been saying. That's how we learn from each other. We try to, bring more collaborative excellences in the codes. In the conclusion, we are very close to now, above a little bit beyond 6 o'clock. If Mr. Warick or Mr. Rupesh, as you feel like, Warick Saab, would you like to give any of the concluding remarks to kind of, inspire us to work ahead? And then we will ask Mr. Rupesh, and then we can probably call off the meeting today. Warick Saab, your kind words on guiding the colleagues here.
No, definitely, collectively, only we will be in a position to achieve the safe envelope in any given building. So it is a responsibility of all stakeholders to ensure that whatever they are doing, they should be as per the standards, and they should give their 100% to the building. And then only we can achieve the precious human life and property. Business continuity, it is a buzzing word. The way the foreign direct investment is coming up in India in the form of different investment, maybe industrial, warehousing, data centers. So we have to give them assurance that we have the technology, we have the manpower to execute the good project in a proper way. So to achieve that, I think we should have the coordination between all stakeholders, all service providers, maybe civil work, structural ones, or HVAC, air conditioning, electrical, fire, all types of discipline. They should work in tandem with each other to achieve the safe envelope. That is the only solution ahead. Thank you.
Mr. Rupesh, I bring it back to you now. I think it has been very nice. We could have done long. I think there is an immense opportunity for us to interact. I would propose all the three consultants who are there to please come forward and share your PowerPoint presentations on certain subjects. You have a very good understanding. I think it will be beneficial for all of us, in fact, learning from each other in that aspects. So I leave it to Mr. Rupesh to give the final conclusion so that we can proceed further to conclusion of this program.
Thank you, Sandeep ji, and thank you all panelists. Okay, I would like Saurav to come up for a vote of thanks. Saurav?
Yes, thank you, Rupesh ji. No, I went through the entire 2 hours, and let me tell you, today's BlazeMaster Masterclass has been very high on knowledge and experience. Lot of knowledge, and what was more important was, you all shared such nice experience and spoke about decoding the codes with so much passion. So it had many superstars of the fire industry. It reminded me of the Indian cricket team of 2000s. When we had Sachin Tendulkar, we had Dhoni, we had Sehwag, we had Dravid, Lakshman, and so many stalwarts in the same team. This seminar today, this event today was like the team of India in late 2000s. First of all, a big thank you to Warick Saab. He, as usual, his humility and yet his no-nonsense attitude is what actually our leaders are made of. Thank you, a big thank you, Warick Saab. Thank you, Sandeep ji, once again. Your complete command over the subject, and most importantly, over the over language was very much evident today. In fact, that was one of the catalysts that brought out the best insights from all these superstar panelists that we had today. Each of the panelists were wonderful, especially sharing their knowledge and also sharing their experience. Thank you once again, Muthu Krishnan Saab, Kapse Saab, Ashwin ji, Manish ji, and also again Warick Saab, for his closing remarks and a few nuggets that he shared during the panel discussion. Last and absolutely not the least, there are two more superstars at the back end, the 200+ audience and the big and ever proactive FSCI team. A big thank you to you all. Thank you, and wishing you all a very happy Gandhi Jayanti tomorrow and Shastri Jayanti. And to make your 2nd October, more interesting, we will not be announcing the quiz results right now. Expect the quiz results to come later on, maybe late in the evening or tomorrow during 2nd of October. Thank you for spending time with us. Thank you once again. Have a great day and a good weekend ahead. Thank you all.
Thank
Thank
you
you, guys.
very much.
Thank you all for joining. Okay, Suresh sir is here. Mr. Menon, if you want to say something.
Hi, good evening. And first of all, thank you, Mumbai chapter, Rupesh ji, for bringing all the superstars on one platform.
Yeah.
I mean, what was said by Saurav is perfect. Last 60 minutes, 120 minutes was a knowledge pack session, a great learning, a lot of takeaways. And I hope we can continue this series with these superstars. Because I think codes are something which needs to get evolved. And as Sandeep said, there is always a learning. So thank you, Rupesh ji. And I request all the attendees here to support FSCI, keep supporting us. We will bring more and more such programs. Thank you. Warick sir, special thanks to you.
So let me take this opportunity. So there are 2 more webinars with BlazeMaster. Okay, and there's one more webinar or 2 more webinars on specifically on EV fires. Okay, so I would again request Sandeep ji, Kapse ji, Ashwin ji to be part of it. Okay, so maybe by November we would do that, but definitely we'll come back to you for your support.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.